God. She is in charge, her and her husband, of the children's ministries that take place. She specifically for our girls' ministry on Wednesday nights. They oversee the Easter egg hunt, which is no small task, VBS. And each and every week when the children are dismissed, Kelly and Justin either teach or are responsible to get teachers and train them. But Kelly also is a great mom. I watch her interact with her children, whether she knows it or not. She's a great mom, and she loves her children. She has a great heart. She cares not only for her children, her husband, her family, but also she cares for Justin's grandmother. And not everyone knows the sacrifices she makes to do that. But in all of these things that Kelly does and her faithfulness, God has rewarded her every step of the way. And I don't know what she's going to share or anything, but some of the things that she's doing now have always been the desire of her heart. One of the things that was the desire of her heart was to be the girls' ministry sectional rep for all of South Jersey. She grew up in the Assemblies of God and grew up as a missionette back in the day. And God granted the desire of her heart, and she leads the whole southern section, girls' ministry, with teaching and training and planning events and everything. God has been good to Kelly, and I think she would be the first to say that. And I personally am very proud of her, proud of Justin and their family, and excited to have her come and share this morning. God bless you, Kelly. Let's give her a good hand. Yeah, now.
See, I knew I wasn't going to cry when I spoke this morning, but I didn't think I was going to be crying when he introduced me, so wasn't expecting that. Good morning. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers here today. I'm very excited to be sharing with you today. Pastor didn't ask me to speak today. Back in March, we were at the missions banquet at Good News, and he came up to me afterwards and he says, well, I need to ask you, no, and he's looking at Dory and she's going, I don't know what you want, what? And he's like, no, not ask. I want you to speak on Mother's Day. And I was like, oh, okay, so that's like not an option. No, that's not an option. You're speaking on Mother's Day. Okay, thanks, Pastor. So I was like, okay, that's fine. I speak every Sunday to kids, so this is just, speaking to older kids. It's kind of the same thing, right? But when I teach downstairs, I teach a little bit different than Pastor teaches up here. We have games. We're not doing games today. Sorry, guys, not moving around. I usually have a PowerPoint with my kids, which I will have a little bit of a PowerPoint here today, but nothing like what we do with the kids. I have questions and answers after I teach with my kids. No test at the end for you guys, even though they're usually easy, true and false. So you guys will be good for today. So hopefully you'll enjoy what I have to say, and I'll be able to minister to you a little bit. As Pastor mentioned, I helped take care of Justin's grandmother. She had some issues back in January, and since then she's needed full-time care. And one of the things is she needs to be changed every morning between 4:30 and 5. So I get up every morning and go and I change her. They live like 30 seconds away from us, so it's easy to get there. But so I get up every morning. So a lot of times, if any of you are like I am, when you wake up in the morning, if you wake up early, sometimes it's hard to get back to sleep. I really don't want to be up at 5 o'clock in the morning for the day, because I'm usually up till 11 or 12 o'clock at night, so that makes for a long day. So I'm trying to get back to sleep, and I don't fall back to sleep real easily. It takes me a while, so a lot of times I lay there for 45 minutes to an hour, which is a great time for me to spend with God praying. And so a lot of what I was given from God for today happened at this time during the day, in the early morning. Today is Mother's Day, so I want to talk to you a little bit about mothers, and especially the way that moms look at things. Moms have a special way of seeing their kids, a lot different than dads do. They think their kids are the cutest. My kids are the absolute cutest kids in the world. Sorry to all you parents out there. My kids are the cutest kids. We all think our kids are the smartest kids. We all think that our kids have so much potential, just what they can do. I remember the first time we handed Micah a ball and had him throw it. That kid could throw a ball like nothing. He was like maybe 9 months old when he threw the ball. He had perfect aim, went right to Justin. He caught it like perfect. I was like, yes, my kid's going to pitch for the Yankees. Sorry. Some of us think that our kids are going to be the best singers in the world. My daughter loves to sing. I am praying that she gets that talent from the Kenyon side, because you do not want to hear me sing. It is not pretty. That is not one of the things that God has gifted me with. I wish he had, but he did not. So I'm just going to tell you this quick story because it's so cute. The other day, my kids come out of their bedroom, and they're both wearing little Doc McStuffin coats, so they look like little doctors. And my son, not my daughter, is wearing pink sparkly gloves on his hands. And he says, Sissy, come here. And he's got a drumstick in his hand, and he says, Sissy, come here. I'm going to conduct you. And he goes like this, and he waves the stick up, and he holds it up, and he starts going like this, and she just starts singing. La, 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 like just singing and singing. And then she keeps getting higher and higher and higher to like the sound that only dogs can hear. And my mom's going, oh, Sissy, that's too loud. But she loves to sing. So I'm praying that she's gifted with that talent. But moms see these wonderful things in their kids. Sometimes dads don't see that, but moms do. Moms have these amazing ways of seeing this. They see the potential that their kids can be, and they believe that their kids can change the world. This is what is called mom goggles. Moms have these little goggles on that shield them from seeing all the other things. So real quick, I want to show you a video about mom goggles, just so you can get a better idea of exactly what mom goggles are. They see things a lot differently than dads do. Dads still love their kids. They still think that they're wonderful, but moms definitely do see things differently. But today I want to talk to you about God goggles. They're very similar to mom goggles. These are what God wears when he sees us. God sees us the way that moms see their kids, to be wonderful, to see all the potential that they have. And when God created us, Jeremiah 1:5 says, I knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb. Before you were born, I sanctified you and I appointed you as my spokesman for the world. God knew that we were going to do amazing things. Just because you don't feel like you're doing something amazing in your life, just because you're not an amazing preacher like Billy Graham or an amazing singer, doesn't mean that God's not using you and God doesn't have something great planned for you. And God didn't just choose a few people to do things in the world. God's chosen all of us. This church right here would not be possible if you weren't here today. If all of you weren't here, I'd be standing here speaking to the walls. I'd still be here speaking, but nobody would be here. So even if you're just sitting here, that's something that God is using you for. We're not all going to be missionaries in the earth, but we can be missionaries right here at home. When God created us, he knew what our possibilities could be. He has wonderful things planned for us, and he wants you to develop those potentials. God has these goggles on, and he sees you doing amazing things. He sees the wonderful things that you can do in your life. That's you being a mom, you being a daughter, you being a son, you being a dad, you being a friend, you being all these wonderful things. God can use anyone. One of my favorite sayings that I've ever heard, and I'm pretty sure pastors said it here before, it is, God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. That doesn't mean you go out, you get qualified, and you're going to be the wonderful person. God can use you. This is what I say to my kids almost every single week. Grace Bermudez is such a sweet little girl. I love her. She is so quiet. She hardly ever talks. She helps in the toddler classroom now, and my kids said to her, Mommy, Grace helped today, but she doesn't talk. Why doesn't she talk? I said, well, honey, she's just shy. So can you guess what Grace wants to be when she grows up? Anybody have an idea? A teacher. a teacher. When she told me she wanted to be a teacher, I said, honey, you know you have to talk, right? When you're a teacher, you have to get up in front of people and talk. She's like, yeah, I know. So most of you aren't going to believe this because the kids downstairs don't believe this when I tell them, but when I was Grace's age, I was just like her. I was so shy. I was so quiet. And I said one day, I was like, I was so shy, I was scared to go into Wawa to get milk by myself. And she's sitting there going, because she feels the same way. But here I am in front of people talking. Almost every Sunday, I'm downstairs speaking to the kids. I speak when I go to my girls' ministries events. When I run something for the section, I'm the person that has to get up there and run it. When we do our stuff for Vacation Bible School, I'm the one that has to get up here and say, okay, kids, this is what you're going to do. I'm in front of people talking all the time. I never, ever, ever would have guessed when I was a kid that this is something that I would be doing. Yes, I did want to be a sectional rep. The woman that was our sectional rep was Anna Mary. I loved her. She was such a sweet woman. I remember sitting there at Powette's, listening to her speak, being in her own tent with her cot and, having her own time. And I said, oh, I would love to do that when I get older. That would be so cool if I could do that. Never would have guessed that that would have really happened. But God knows our hearts. He knows what we want, and he has plans for us. So I've said to Grace many times, honey, do you think you can stop being a little shy? And she tries. And I'll say, you want to read today? No. Grace, you want to come up and teach today? No. But she's so sweet. She's such a sweet girl. She has a heart for people. She wants to teach, and I believe she's going to do it because I know that was me. That was me when I was that age, and I know that she can do it because she's such a wonderful little girl. God can use any of us. God wants to see what we can do, and he sees potential in all that we are. Sometimes we think that God could never use us because of something that we've gone through or are going through. Maybe the hard time that you're going through right now is so that you can learn to lean on God. I have a friend who is a preacher now, and this woman is a wonderful woman of God, wonderful. And if you looked at the things that she's doing now, you would never, ever guess where she came from. Her and her husband used to drink and do drugs. They used to party before she had a kid. When she finally did get saved, she would go to church and everything, but she had severe anxiety. She would tell me stories that she would be in the grocery store shopping, have a cart full of stuff, and just become overcome with anxiety, that she would have to leave the grocery store. And that's hard for us to imagine, to have that much anxiety, that we just couldn't even stay in a grocery store to finish our shopping because we were so anxious. So she went through this, she got saved, and she just kept saying, I love you, God, but I can't ever do anything for you. I'll never be able to go on a mission trip. I'll never be able to do anything. This woman is going on mission trips at least once a year. She is the pastor of a very large church in our area. She's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. If any of you have ever heard Jamie Morgan speak, you would never believe that that's what her life was like. And she's just unbelievable. It's amazing the things that God can do. My best friend and I used to say all the time when we were kids, I'm never going to do this. She would say, I'm never going to be a preacher. I'm never going to work with kids. And after a while, things we found out that we would say we would never do became things that were happening. So now we just say, she'll say, I'm never going to do that. I'm like, remember, when you say never, God laughs at you and he makes you do it. Because my best friend is now a police chaplain for Millville, even though she said she was never going to be a minister. She's now teaching at Ferreton. She does all these things that she said she was never going to do. So it's just amazing the things that God can do for us, things that we never expected we'd be able to do. I want to talk to you a little bit about Job. Everybody knows the story of Job, right? Job was a wonderful man of God, loved God with all of his heart, was wonderful. God said that he loved him. He was, his servant. Job had everything. He had thousands of livestock. He had a wife. He had 7 sons, 3 daughters. He had everything. God put a hedge of protection around him. He was blameless and upright. Satan went to God and said, hey, how about I test him? Do you think that he's still going to be serving you and loving you the way that he does if he doesn't have all these things? Do you think he'll still do that if he has the money, if he has the livestock, if he has his wife, if he has his kids? God says, I know that he will, and I want to show you. Go ahead and take that stuff from him. So Satan did. Satan killed all of his livestock. Satan killed all of his children. Satan killed his wife. And then Satan went back and said, well, he's still healthy. He's not sick. He's still healthy. He still has a reason to serve you. God said, okay, fine. Go ahead and take his health, but don't kill him, but you can take his health. He was covered in sores. He was not healthy. He had everything taken away from him. Did he curse God? No, he didn't. He still served God and he still loved him. And God used Job to show Satan, go ahead, do whatever you want to my children. They will still serve me. They will still crush you. Maybe, just maybe, God's using those trials to show Satan how strong you are. God sees the potential in all of us. And after all that, God gave Job twice of what he had before. He gave him more children. He gave him a wife. He gave him that wealth back. He gave him his health back. He gave him everything because God knew that Job still loved him and still served him, and he still blessed him. God sees the potential in all of us. I tell the kids downstairs all the time that God can do something amazing in your life, more than you could even imagine. I said one Sunday to the kids, I'm like, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? We asked them. They told me what they wanted to be. And I said to Alistair, maybe God wants you to be an astronaut. And he said, no, I'm never going to be an astronaut. I said, don't say never, because you never know. God could make you do something that you don't want to do. But if he has something that you don't want to do right now, that doesn't mean it's not something you want to do later. When I started teaching Sunday school when I was 14 years old at Ferreton, I taught missionettes when I was 17. And those were just kids. I was so nervous, but nothing like when I would get up to speak for recognition nights. I was so scared. Oh my gosh, you couldn't even imagine. My hands were shaking. When I had to speak, my voice was shaking. That was when I was 17 years old. Took speech class in college, gradually got over it. And I can't even tell you at what point it happened that all of a sudden I was comfortable speaking in front of people, but it just happened. And I know that that's because of God, because I know where I was when I was a kid. I still remember the day when I had a conversation with my youth pastor. I had a wonderful youth pastor who was like a father to me. He says to me, you're going to change the world one day. That's hard to live up to. That is very hard to live up to. So then I'm thinking, well, how am I going to change the world? I was only 17 years old. How am I going to change the world? I'm a 17-year-old girl from South Jersey. Nobody knows South Jersey. They know North Jersey, Jersey, where that's not really how we talk because they think of everything like New York. How am I going to change the world? He says, just went and looked at that new Assemblies of God district office in North Jersey in Burlington. He said, I could see you there one day. I've been there many times to help with girls' ministries. I'm just a shy girl. How am I going to do this? How am I going to change the world? I can't sing. I'm nervous to speak in front of people. What am I going to do? How is God going to use me? Well, he has. I'm here. I teach kids every Sunday. I get a chance to teach kids in all of New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to touch so many people's lives that I can't even imagine through not just me, but the kids that I'm pouring into are going to be used for God. I see the kids that we have at Vacation Bible School, the kids that we have on Wednesday night. A lot of those kids don't even go to church here. Those are kids that are getting the chance to hear about God through us that are here. There's this app that I really like, if any of you want to find it. It's called The First Five. It's a really cool app that was developed by Proverbs 31 Ministries, which is a ministry for women, because Proverbs 31 is about the woman. But it's for anybody. But it's an app that's done specifically by women. And what the point of the app is You open it, it's the first thing you should open in the morning. It has a little 5-minute devotion, and that you should give your first 5 minutes of the day to God. If you give your first 5 minutes of the day to God, you're starting your day off right. You're starting your day off with God, and God can use that. It even has an alarm on it so that you can use that as your alarm in the morning. So it's pretty cool. So as soon as your alarm goes off, you open it, and your app's already open. One of the writers is Wendy Pope, and she said, "You were created for a good work that God prepared just for you." Just for you. God has something amazing planned for you. Even if you're not going to be the one that's up here speaking, even if you're not going to be the one that's going to another country, there are so many ways that God can use you right here even right here in our church. When we have our events, so many times we just need somebody to be there and say, "Hey, thanks for coming. We love you. We'd love to see you on Sunday." Just to be there, that's something that we could so use you for. When people come to visit in church here, that's one of the things that I love about this church. If you come to this church, if you are new here today and you walked in and somebody didn't say hi to you, I don't know how you got in. You must have snuck in through a window. And most Sundays, the first person that's greeting you before you even step in the door is Liz Gaetano, because she knows everybody in the world. So that's one of the things I love about this church. If you're not in church, you're getting calls, you're getting letters, you get cards. We haven't had a day where we haven't had a birthday or a holiday where I'm not getting a card in the mail from somebody or my kids aren't getting a card. My kids are so loved here. They get birthday presents. Mr. Ritchie gives them money all the time. They love that. Who doesn't love getting money from Mr. Ritchie? He's so wonderful. But the people here are just so wonderful and so nice. And just by being here, you're showing God's love. It's so wonderful. If we're going to allow God to use us for what he wants, we need to get ourselves a pair of God goggles. We need to be able to see the world as God sees it. God sees the potential in us. God sees what we can do. But we also need to put on those God goggles and love other people. We need to be able to see those people that are hurting, those people that need love, and to show that. We have so many ways that we can do that. Even in just when you're at work, there are so many people that are hurting at work that need that love, just encouragement and love. We have a great opportunity coming up next year that I'm so excited about. I don't think our church has ever done a missions trip. Many of you got to hear Garrett speak when he was here. If you were at the missions banquet at Good News, you got to hear Tara speak, which was wonderful. She gave her testimony about how she grew up in church, but her mom wasn't in church. Her mom just dropped her off. She thought she was going to be a single missionary, and she was going to take on the world by herself. That's not true. God laughed at her and said, "Ha, no, you get Garrett Kenyon." I think I got the better one. Just saying. I made out better, but that's okay. I love my brother and sister-in-law. And when we first heard that Garrett and Tara were doing girls' conferences in Panama, I was so excited. We do girls' conferences here, so that's exciting for me. That's what I do in New Jersey. So they're doing this in Panama. They're doing this getting girls, thousands and thousands of girls coming out. And these are girls that are taught, you're worthless, you're worth nothing. Doesn't matter if you live or die, we don't care. These are girls that need to hear that they're loved. Garrett said that through the girls' conferences that they're doing, he has had the chance to be a spiritual father to these girls. Garrett only has boys, so then this is his way of being a spiritual father to these girls, and he has such a heart for them. And when we first heard they were doing this, I said to Justin, I really want to be there when they do their girls' conference. And I'm like, well, maybe we'll just go stay with them, and we'll go when they're doing the girls' conference. Well, after we heard them speak this year, I went to Pastor. I said, "Pastor, I want to do a trip. I want to do a missions trip to Panama and take people from our church to go to this girls' conference. Because we can go ahead of time, we can go into the schools and we can minister in there and give them tickets and everything, but if we go the week of, we get to be there for that conference. We get to see firsthand those girls being ministered to. We get to help them with stuff that they're doing at the girls' conference. We get to pray over those girls. That is an amazing thing. I remember the first time that I was at an event, and I think it was probably a youth event because I wasn't a sectional rep at the time, but I was helping with youth out at Fairton. And we had some kind of a rally, and they called all the youth leaders up, and then they said, "Okay, now kids, come up." And we got to pray over those kids. That is one of my favorite things to do, is praying over kids, praying over youth. especially praying over girls. That's just unbelievable to be able to touch their lives. I love being able to do that. So we have this awesome opportunity that we get to do this. Next July, we're going to go down. We'll go down the Monday before the conference. We'll be there for the conference, and we'll actually be able to be there and help with it. Anybody is welcome to go, not just girls and women. This is the first year that we'll actually be there for something unique because they're doing a boys' conference this year as well. It's going to be in the same facility. It'll just be in a separate room. So men will even be able to help. You can help with the girls' conference, but you can also help with the boys' conference. So it's going to be a really great trip for us. Don't think about the cost. Don't think about how much this is going to cost. I don't have the money for it because God doesn't have a spending account. It doesn't matter to him. I don't care how much it costs. It doesn't matter. He takes care of it. We'll take care of it. We're going to do fundraisers. We want you to be able to go. I know that there are people in this church that have wanted to do this and didn't know how you were going to be able to do this. This is going to be a great opportunity for us to do it. Let God use you. This is going to be a way for you to be used. Even if you're scared and you're like, oh, I don't want to pray in front of people. I don't want to be praying for kids. What am I going to say? You can still be used. Tara had talked about when they did their first girls' conference, Fabian had sent a team from New Jersey, and she said, these kids were like baby Christians. I said to them, okay, we're going to go around and we're going to pray over the chairs. And they were like, why? The chairs don't need to be saved. These are kids that they didn't know that when you pray over chairs, you're praying for the bodies that are going to be in those chairs. They were kids that just didn't understand, but their lives were changed through those trips. I've been on missions trips, and your life has changed. You have a completely different appreciation for what you have, and you can see how much God is doing in our world. I have one of my favorite songs right now is by Matthew West. It's called Do Something. I don't know if any of you have heard this song. We listen to K-Love a lot in our house and in our car. They have an app, which we love. We put it on in the morning for me and the kids. And it says, woke up this morning, saw a world full of trouble now. Thought, how do we ever get so far down? How's it ever going to turn around? So I turned my eyes to heaven and I thought, God, why don't you do something? I just couldn't bear the thought of people living in poverty, children sold into slavery. The thought disgusted me. I shook my fist to heaven and I said, God, why don't you do something? And he said, I did. I created you. I created you to be the change in this world. My son has his favorite song right now. Cracks me up. We were driving to Lancaster one day. He was asleep in the car, and Mike and Michaela were both asleep, and the song comes on the radio, and all of a sudden he sits up and he says, Mommy, this song says God is on the moon. Honey, actually it says God is on the move. But yeah, but that song just woke him up. And so we had to explain to him, honey, do you know what that means? It means that God is moving around the world. God is doing amazing things in our world. Like, if you follow any of our missionaries on Facebook, you'll see all the amazing things that God's doing. Our missionary, Josh, who was here, Josh Rowan, there's been a lot of stuff that has been happening very close to where he is, like within blocks of where he is, and God has kept him safe. If you ever heard Garrett and Tara speak when they were here, when they first started, when they were MAs, and they were in El Salvador, there were kids that were being murdered daily, like a block from their house. This is happening where our missionaries are. This is happening here. We have people that are homeless here. We have people that are being murdered here. We need to be that change in our world. We need to get up and do something. That's on us to do. I want to show you a little promo video real quick for Panama for our trip. And this is a video of the conference stage, which means they can have more flights coming and going. So it's guessed that their flights may be cheaper this year because there's going to be more flights coming and going, so there might be more competition. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to get a good deal on flights. So as soon as we have that, we'll have prices and we'll have more information, and we're going to do fundraisers and stuff. So I'm really excited. And my challenge for you today is, are you wearing your God goggles? Are you wearing those goggles and seeing the hurting people and seeing the potential in the people around us? And if you aren't, you need to figure out how to get them on. Spend time with God. Spend time in the Word. That's your best way of doing it. That's the best way for us to, I ask the kids all the time, the standard answer for kids if you grew up in the church. Your answers are always Jesus, God, or the Bible. There's your answer. Jesus, God, the Bible. Spend time with Jesus. Spend time with God. Spend time in the Bible. Those are your answers. That's how you grow. That's how you're able to put your God goggles on and see the rest of the world. Thank you.